called An Austrian Went Yodeling. And if you don't know what yodeling is, here's a little clip. So this person from Austria, which is located in Europe, kind of near Germany. So here's a picture on a map so you can see. Located near the Alps. So this Austrian went yodeling, and all kinds of things interrupt him when he's trying to enjoy his trip in the mountains. At the start, we do this pattern while we sing. Great. And it goes like this. Oh, an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came an avalanche, interrupting his cry. Good job. Then we do this, we get ready to yodel, and we roll on our legs. We go yole. And we keep our pattern of 3 things by going step, step, hop, step, step, hop. And you don't have to sing right away. Once you catch on, you can try to sing and move. But it goes yodel-hee-hoo, yodel-hee-hoo, swish, swish. That's the sound that our avalanche makes. Yodel-hee-hoo, yodel-hee-hoo, swish, swish. Yodel-hee-hoo, yodel-hee-hoo, swish, swish. Yodel-hee-hoo. All right, it's a lot, I know. But for now, if you can't sing the song yet, maybe by the 7th round when we've added all these things on, you'll be able to catch on. If not, just copy my motions and do what I do as we sing along. So let's start back at the very beginning and find out all the crazy things that interrupt this poor guy just trying to yodel. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came an avalanche, interrupting his cry. Yole, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Yodele, hoo. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came a grizzly bear, interrupting his cry. Yole, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, yodele, hoo. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came a Jersey cow, interrupting his cry. Yole, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, hoo. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came a pretty maid, interrupting his cry. Yole, yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, yodele, hoo, swish, swish. Grr, squirt, squirt. Yodele, hoo. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain interrupting his cry. Yodelay, 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 ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, yodelay, oh, ooh. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came a snowman, interrupting his cry. Yodelay, 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 ooh. Swish, swish, grr. Hey, brr, yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr. Squirt, squirt. Hey, brr, yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr. Squirt, squirt. Hey, brr, yodelay, oh, ooh. Once an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain so high, when along came an alien, interrupting his cry. Yodelay, 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 ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, brr, take me to your leader. Yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, brr, take me to your leader. Yodelay, yodelay, ooh. Swish, swish, grr, squirt, squirt. Hey, brr, take me to your leader. Yodelay, oh, ooh. Ooh, were you able to keep up with all of that and fit all of that in? Great job. Now you've had a chance to move around. Don't sit down. Be ready to sing and continue on with our music lesson today.
All right, so we are looking at the woodwind family today, and these are known as keys. If you remember back, our brass instruments, they had valves. They went inside, they had holes in them, and they allowed the air to pass through other slides so that they could extend the length of the instrument. So with the woodwinds, they're going to have holes in the body. And if you looked right here, we have some holes. And then the key goes down and shuts those holes. So that's how they extend the length of their tube, is by closing the keys. So this instrument here is called the flute, and it is the only one that doesn't have a reed, which we will look at here in just a little bit. So we have the mouthpiece here, or the mouth plate, the lip plate, and then we have the keys down the body. So with the flute, it is the only one that doesn't have the reed, and the reed's what vibrates on most of these to make the sound. So if it doesn't have a reed, how does it vibrate? Let's see. If I buzz into it. No, it doesn't really produce a sound. A little bit hard to do, too. So, what about if I blow into it? No. If I blow in and wiggle the keys? No. So what is different about this one is that your air is actually split by this lip plate here. So if we are blowing across it and it splits right here, the air splits and it tries to vibrate to come back together, but it can't because the instrument's in the way. And that's what actually is doing the vibrating here. So let's see if we can listen to a song and figure out what it is. Here we go. guess what song that is? If you said Apple Tree, you are absolutely correct. Great listening. Alright, so this instrument here is called the oboe. It is a member of our woodwind family, and it has keys on it instead of valves. So if you think back to the brass one that we covered the past couple times, they had valves on them that went up and down or side to side. These here are keys, and if you look very closely, you could see that there are holes underneath where those keys are. And then the key closes and it shuts the hole. And that's kind of how it changes the pitch. This right here is a double reed. We're going to talk more about the reeds here after a while. But there is a top reed and a bottom reed. And that's what vibrates to make it sound on the oboe. So let's see if we can figure out what song this is. What song was that? If you said it was I See the Moon, you are absolutely correct. Great listening. Alright, so this is the clarinet, and it has keys on it, just like the flute and the oboe do. But remember that keys are different from valves. Valves go up and down or side to side, and their holes are connecting to the tubes. Well, these keys are actually covering holes. And if you look here, you can kind of see where we have some holes. My fingers actually cover those. But underneath these keys, there are also holes, and the key is what seals those. So we have holes that our fingers cover and close, and we also have the keys that the pads cover the holes, or that the keys cover the holes. So, on here, we have the mouthpiece, the ligature, and the reed here. So, the oboe had a double reed. This is what's known as a single reed. If I take it off, you can see that there is nothing in between here. It's just a reed. Just one single reed, one part. So, this ligature, kind of like our body, has ligaments to hold our muscles to our bones and keep everything working properly. The reed has to be held onto the mouthpiece. So the ligature here is going to be holding on to the reed and the mouthpiece to keep them connected. So we're going to put that on there. We're going to tighten down our ligature and get it lined up just right so it makes its best sound. And then we're going to see if we can recognize the song. So, see if you can recognize this song. Did you figure out what it is? If you said peas porridge hot, you are correct. Great listening. Alright, boys and girls, so today we have another instrument. It's a member of our woodwind family. It is called the saxophone. So, you're thinking to yourself probably, well, that's made out of metal. It's not made out of wood. But remember that to be a member of our woodwind family, it had to have keys. So here are the keys on here, all the way through. And then we have a reed up here. So, a single reed just like on our clarinet. So, we're going to see if we can listen to a song and figure it out. I bet you can. Any ideas what that might be? If you said Ghost of Tom, you are correct. Great listening. Right, so this instrument is the bassoon. It's a double reed, just like our oboe from last time. And it's part of the woodwind family because, for one, it has a reed, and two, because it had the keys. Now, this instrument is very interesting, and it's difficult to play. This one here, this thumb, my right hand controls these 4 keys right here. My left thumb controls all of the ones right here. I'll let you take a look at that. All of these keys right here is all controlled by this one little thumb. Then I've got fingers up here in the front. They're responsible for all of these. And then I've got these fingers here, and they're responsible for all of these keys. So there are lots of things going on here with our hands. So they aren't really doing much holding of the instrument. They're kind of to balance it so it doesn't fly too far one way or the other, but they're not actually holding it. So the question is how do we hold it then? Well, believe it or not, this instrument here is held by this strap, a seat strap. So it hooks onto the bottom, and then you put it underneath you to sit on. That's why it's called a seat strap. If you're thinking like me, I'm thinking since this one is so big, it might also be the lowest. Let's find out. You can figure out what song this is. Any ideas? If you said that it was Ickle Ockle, you are correct. Great listening.
Let's review and maybe go over some newish musical terms that we are working on in 3rd grade this year. So I know this is review. This note has 2 names. We have a rhythm name and a musical name. What's the rhythm name that we would call this? That's right, we call it a ta. And what's its musical name? Very good, quarter note. A quarter note or a ta gets how many sounds on how many beats? 1 sound on 1 beat, exactly right. So tas get 1 sound on 1 beat. How about these? What do we call these? Remember, rhythm name and music name. So what's its rhythm name? Very good. We call it a ta-dee. And its musical name are 8th notes. Very good. 2 8th notes beamed together at the top. How many sounds on how many beats would 8th notes or ta-dees make? 2 sounds on 1 beat. That's exactly right. 2 sounds on 1 beat for a ta-dee. That's why our rhythm syllables are important, because they help us see ta-dee, 2 sounds. Let's check out what's next. Okay, what do we call this note? Its rhythm name, we say ta. That's correct. What about its music name? What do we call it for its musical term? Perfect. A half note. A half note. And how many sounds on how many beats? 1 sound held for 2 beats, like ta. And that's why we say ta-ah, because we're trying to show those 2 beats that 1 sound is being held out for. All right, let's move on to this guy. And what do we call this? Its rhythm syllable name and its music symbol term are pretty much the same. It's a rest, officially a quarter rest, because a quarter note gets 1 sound on 1 beat. This makes 0 sounds on 1 beat. So it is related to the quarter note because it's the opposite. Instead of making 1 sound on 1 beat, it's silence on 1 beat. What do we call this? Its rhythm syllable name is a takadimi. Say that with me. Takadimi. And we call it a takadimi, because it makes how many sounds? Yes, 4, right. All right, we'll pick up with that in just a second. Let's find out its real musical term name. Do you remember what that is? 16th notes. That's right. These are called 16th notes. They're different than taddies because there are 2 beams at the top and they make 4 sounds on 1 beat. So a takadimi, a taddy, and a ta, and a quarter rest all take up just 1 beat, but the number of sounds is what is changing with each of those symbols. So 4 sounds on 1 beat for our takadimi. All right, so what do we call this note? We see one of our 8th notes and 2 16ths at the end. Yeah, we call it a ta-dimi. So we take the first part of that ta-di, the second half of a takadimi, and we squish it together. And it's made up of 1/8 notes and 2 16th notes. So that's really its official music name. Like there's not another good way to say it. We just say it's a combination of 8th and 16th notes. And it makes 3 sounds on 1 beat. Remember, 3 sounds on 1 beat. This one goes like a long, short type of sound. Ta-dimi. What about this one? It's the opposite, right? It's the flip of it. So what do we call it with its rhythm symbol name? Yeah, we say takadi. Takadi. And it's made up of what in our music symbol names? It's made up of 2 16ths and 1/8 note. Exactly. Yeah, very good. And how many sounds on how many beats? 3 sounds on 1 beat also. But remember, they do sound different, the ta-dimi and takadi, because it depends on where the shorter notes are coming, at the beginning or the end. And that's what changes that for us. Great job reviewing the rhythms with me. Let's move on to this symbol. We just were talking about it in our compositions. Do you remember what it's called? These are time signatures. Can you say that with me? Time signature. Great. What does a time signature do for us? It tells us how many beats are in each measure by the top note, by the top number. The top number tells us there are either 2 beats or 4 beats in every measure. How are the measures divided up in our music? That's right, by bar lines. Bar lines divide the music up into measures. In between each of those bar lines, if the 2/4 is your time signature, you could only have 2 beats in every measure. If the 4/4 was your time signature, you could have 4 beats in every measure. So that changes how our song sounds depending on the number of beats per measure. Okay, dynamics are something that we talk about from pretty much your first day of music as a kindergartner. You just don't know their dynamics. So let's review what they are. Dynamics are how loud or soft music is supposed to be. So our dynamics and our tempos, which we'll talk about in a moment, are all in what language? Italian. Yes, Italian. So our most familiar dynamics are forte, which is a dynamic that means loud. Yes, forte means loud. What about this one? Do you remember the Italian word? Piano. And piano is a dynamic that means soft or quiet, right? So piano is the opposite of forte. Now, we have some in-between dynamics that we are going to be working on. Mezzo forte is a medium loud dynamic. So it's not as loud as forte, but it's a little softer, but it's louder than piano. And then we also have mezzo piano. So knowing what mezzo forte is, what do you think mezzo piano might mean? That's right. Mezzo piano would mean medium soft. So this is a little louder than piano, but softer than mezzo forte. So that mezzo is the medium version of piano or forte. So dynamics are kind of a range. We can have loud, medium loud, medium, soft, soft. And there's even more beyond that that we'll get to learn about at another time. Okay, so we've talked about our normal, loud, and soft and the things that can come in between, but we have some extremes. What do you think this could mean? All right, well, its Italian name is fortissimo. Its Italian name is fortissimo. Can you say that with me? Fortissimo. And what do you think fortissimo means? Very loud. That's right. So the two fortes together, fortissimo, mean very loud. So knowing that, what do you think this could mean? Yeah, pianissimo. So we take the piano, and the issimo is the very ending that we put on the word. And so it's a dynamic that means very quiet or very soft, right? So that suffix of issimo is what is changing piano or forte to mean very. So very loud or very quiet. And then we have the sideways V. And when you know what it means, it'll make perfect sense. Does anybody know the name? Yeah, this is a crescendo. Crescendo is a dynamic that tells us to gradually get louder. So that sideways V makes sense. Soft at the tiny point, right? Quiet where it's very close together. And as you get further apart, that's telling you to grow and gradually get louder. This is the opposite. So in Italian, the opposite of crescendo is decrescendo. And that is a dynamic that tells us to do what, do you think? Exactly. Gradually get quieter or softer. So we're starting louder, and over time we're very gradually getting softer. Very good. So our new crescendo and decrescendo. Tempo is how fast or slow our music should be. So the tempo markings that we've spent time working on in past years are allegro. Allegro means, do you know? Fast, that's right. Allegro is our tempo that means fast. Largo is a tempo that means what? That's right. It is a tempo that means slow and stately. Slow and stately, kind of like an elephant, very regally walking. We have some new tempo markings I want us to discuss. So moderato is a medium tempo. It's just kind of a medium speed. Now it's all relative, right? So allegro is fast. Largo is slow and stately. Moderato is a medium speed, somewhere in the middle. So you can see this guy, he's maybe going for kind of a brisk walk is what it looks like. Because our next tempo marking, andante, very much means a walking pace. So if we're going to go from slowest to fastest, our tempo markings would say largo, andante, moderato, and allegro. And that's kind of the order from slow to fast that our tempo markings would go in so far. There are many tempo markings to learn, but so far we have these 4. Largo is our slowest, andante is our walking pace, moderato is a medium speed, and allegro is fast. Presto is a tempo that means, again, we're talking extremes here as we get to the older grades, very fast. Presto is our tempo that tells us to move very fast, like a cheetah. So it's even faster than allegro. Adagio, can you say that with me? Adagio, I like saying that word. Adagio is a tempo that means leisurely. Adagio means leisurely. To review our solfege syllables, we have low, so. This is the note that comes as a big skip below do. And then low, la is just a step above low so, but it is still a skip below do. And remember, our low la and low so, they look exactly like the high ones. It's just where you hold your hand when you're doing your hand signs. That's right. This is do. And do is our lowest note that we've been working on, other than our new note, which was low la. And this is a skip lower than mi. What is this note that comes right above do with a slanted hand? It is re. That's right. And re is a step above do and a step below mi. Our flat hand with our palm facing down is a mi. That's correct. Mi is a skip lower than so. All right, this one with our palm facing ourselves, our thumb up in the air is so. Very good. And so is a skip higher than mi. And then our last one, our highest note that we know so far is la, our high la, and it is a step higher than so. Will you please be my echo for a few hand sign patterns for you to practice without being able to see or follow? I want you to see if you can remember what they are. Be my echo. Do, mi, do, do, mi. Do, mi, so, la, so. So, mi, re, do. Do, so, do. Great job being my echo and helping me review all of these musical terms that we have learned this year or going to continue learning and working on. So great job reviewing all of that. I can't wait to learn more about music with you for the rest of the year.
Now head to Schoology to do an assignment about the musical terms we just reviewed.